Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to another episode of
A BJJ Marriage, where we talk about our lives as a married jiu-jitsu couple.
Alright.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. Dun, dun, dun.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome back.
To another episode. Sorry that we're a day late. For those of you who have your routine set up to listen to us on Mondays, this is coming out on a Monday. We apologize. But
I'm not that sorry.
yeah, we had a great weekend.
No, I'm just kidding.
If you were there, you would understand. If you weren't, sucks to be you.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Wow. She's coming out guns a-blazing Monday morning. Sucks to be you.
It was a fun weekend.
It was a great weekend.
Mm-hmm.
What did we do this weekend?
We went to Fire and Water Camp, take 2. But Gentle Art Lifestyle, take 3.
I like your punching.
Boom, boom, boom.
Even though we did no punching. I did a little punching.
You did, with Josh Fire.
Yes.
How was that?
That was fun.
You had a whole audience for that.
Yeah. I was the only one who wanted to roll.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's a lot of things.
Yeah, so we, like I said, we're out on a Monday instead of a Sunday because we had some very long days for the last couple days.
Mm-hmm.
Normally we record on Sundays, and this Sunday, instead of being here and talking to you all, we were talking to people from Globetrotters and from Neutral Ground and from a bunch of other different schools in Milwaukee, and we were learning some really cool stuff.
Yeah, there's people, I think, from 12 different states at this camp.
Yeah, that's wild.
Super cool.
Love it.
Yeah, so if you don't know what the Fire and Water Camp hosted by the Gentle Art Lifestyle is, it's a 2-day camp of jiu-jitsu seminars, open mats, and a lifestyle type of sessions, you could call it, where we do Wim Hof breathing and cold exposure.
Yeah.
And a little bit of meditation.
Right.
If you do it right. Or, I guess, that's up to my interpretation.
Except this one was a little weird because...
Well, it's February.
It's February and you tried to meditate outside.
I did meditate outside.
I don't know why you would want to do that. I skipped that.
When we get to that part, I'm going to tell you something crazy that happened.
Okay, great.
But the, Wim Hof breathing, if you have no experience with that, it's deep belly breaths that you do in a rotation of like 30 breaths. And then you hold your breath for me, it's anywhere from like 2 to 3 minutes. For beginner, it's somewhere around a minute and a half. But typically, if you just try to hold your breath, you might make it 15 seconds to like 45 seconds on a regular breath hold.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like right now, if you were listening to this, you should pause it and hold your breath without any type of breathing beforehand. Just breathe and then hold it and see how long you can hold it for. Because the average person is like 15 to 45 seconds. But then after you do the Wim Hof, even if your first round in the same day was like 15 seconds, after you do Wim Hof breathing, I guarantee it will be longer than what your original breath was.
Oh, yeah. What it does is it hyperoxygenates your blood. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of benefits. You can find it on Wim Hof's website. He's done a lot of studies and had a lot of people poke and prod him so that he can get his breathing out into the world.
Yeah, it's WIM_HOF if you're interested.
Yeah, Wim Hof, he's a crazy fucking dude in general. So just be prepared for that. But outside of just learning how to breathe, it helps you with cold exposure, which also has its own sort of benefits. Mm-hmm. And the cold exposure that we did was going to Lake Michigan in Milwaukee in February.
Yeah, you're insane.
Which was super fun.
Was it?
I had a great time. I was the only one that did it twice, along with Josh, but other people, I think, had a very good experience with it.
Well, you guys did that in December, too.
Yeah, we did in December. I think December was harder.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Also in December, we did a cold tub instead of Lake Michigan in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I guess...
Well, no, because I wasn't there, because I don't do that. But, yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
I don't like being cold.
No?
No.
The other cool part about going into the lake was I got to go to the beach and build a fire Saturday night and Sunday morning at like 6 a.m. And that was super awesome. just having a beach fire with the sunset and the sunrise. That was amazing in itself.
Yeah, sounds nice.
Want to go have a fire at the beach tonight?
No.
Dang.
No, because sleeping also sounds very nice.
What's that?
So yeah, we started off the camp at 8 a.m. on Saturday doing a Wim Hof breathing class, and like I said, we held our breath just normally, and then after that we did 3 rounds of the Wim Hof breathing, and you just got to feel yourself not only like get better at holding your breath, but also you could like almost feel a tingly sensation, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I like the tingles.
Yeah.
I feel it in my fingers and toes.
I've had it before, but like not every round. This time I had it every round, and I was like, this is weird.
You're getting better.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Because it's like belly breathing, so you have to think about like bringing your entire diaphragm like up as high as it can go so you can like take all the oxygen out of the air and then bring it back down, and you're just constantly like a wave with your stomach trying to build up that flow. Yeah, it starts,
I like to imagine it starting around my belly button, and then it fills up my lungs, and then it goes up through my chest, and then up to my head, and then you let it release, but you don't force it out. Mm-hmm. So when I do it, it sounds like this. Like a wave.
Yeah, because you're supposed to breathe in through your mouth, right?
It's better if you can do it through your nose, but I've always had some issues with that. Maybe because of my allergies.
Okay. Yeah, because Josh said he had the same thing. He did it through his mouth. So yeah. I've always done it through my mouth, too. Just... Yeah. It's got to sound really weird in headphones right now.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so yeah, that's how we started off the camp. And it was cool because that's how we've started off the last 2 camps as well. So it seems to be a good little tradition to start off the entire weekend. Mm-hmm. But then we just jumped right into some jiu-jitsu, and it was great jiu-jitsu all weekend. We learned some fantastic stuff.
We learned lots of great stuff. And outside of techniques, because we're not just going to share all the techniques we learned through a video podcast.
Yeah.
Because we did 9 hours of instruction.
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
Because it was 4.5 hours each day of seminar.
Yep. And then there was open mats and a whole bunch of stuff going on. It was a crazy weekend. But yeah, so
only 9 hours of technique.
There's 3 instructors each day.
Maybe that's why my phone died.
Yeah. So there's 3 instructors each day. We had the lovely Josh Janis teach us the first day. And
the lovely?
It was funny because I had said to him yesterday, I was just like, yeah, when I had to go pick up the pizzas, I was like, I'll just have Nick show me whatever I missed from your seminar. And he was just like, or I could show you, because like I know a guy who teaches that. And I was just like, oh yeah. And I looked and I was like, but I heard he's not that cool. He's like, no, he's not that cool, but he knows jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah, that's funny. That sounds like him.
So yeah, Josh taught us sweeps that work on big people.
Yes, which is also the most viewed seminar on BJJ Globetrotters YouTube at over like 55,000 views, which is pretty cool.
It's very cool. So we did some fun stuff with him, and then we also learned from a neutral ground instructor who...
West Bend, neutral ground West Bend.
This was my first time meeting him.
Really?
Yeah.
Joe is awesome. I've done the fight camp a couple times.
Oh, okay.
At West Bend.
Yeah.
With Joe.
And Pete, and yep. Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I like Joe. I didn't know he knew who I was. And
well, everybody knows you.
I know, it's weird. But we had started our roll, because I asked everyone, I was like, anyone rolling? He's like, I'm rolling. And I was like, oh god, a black belt. Okay, here we go. And we started rolling, and we were talking a little bit afterwards, and then he goes, yeah, your dad and I was like, oh, you know my dad, which means you know who I am. Alright, cool.
Uh-huh. Did you get any good rolls this weekend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I rolled not as much as I wanted. It was a little awkward, I guess, to try to roll and digest your food at the same time.
Yeah, I just didn't eat.
Yeah, he didn't eat, but
I don't know. I'd rather roll than eat.
It was a weird weekend of like trying to balance like time to eat for yourself and also trying to roll, but also trying to be there for the seminars and also trying to build fires and also trying to like be involved in everything. It was just a lot of like chaos, but not in a bad way. So controlled chaos, like jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing was it was nonstop, so there was no time to like eat and digest.
Yeah. So like, for example, on Saturday, we had 2 seminars with Josh and Joe Benson, and then it was open mat. And in that open mat,
it was also lunchtime.
Yeah, it was a chili open mat, so you could eat and roll. And in my head, I was like,
I think it was 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't really want to eat and then roll, so maybe I'll roll first and then I'll eat. So I rolled for like an hour, and I rolled with a bunch of people there. But then I still didn't feel like eating because we were so full on Korean barbecue.
Yeah, we were full from authentic Korean barbecue that one of the new people, Mike Choi. Yeah. He cooked it for us, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, he did super good job.
And I ate way too much that Friday night, so I was pumped up for Saturday anyways. But yeah, Saturday open mat. I decided I was going to roll and then eat also. Mm-hmm. But then it was weird because nobody was rolling, but I kept like pulling people to roll with me.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was like the hard part about it, right? Like, yeah. I was telling him, I was like, I don't feel like I rolled that much. But then I thought about it. I was like, I still rolled with like 10 people. That's pretty decent. Like, that's a pretty good amount. I just didn't roll for 2 hours straight like you weirdo. He rolled 2 hours straight without a break. I think the only time he took a break was when he asked someone, do you want to roll?
when I was like walking around the mat like a cougar. Like,
a lost puppy?
Hey, anybody want to roll?
Nope. Jose and I agreed that you looked like a lost kid at a playground. Like, none of the big kids want to play with me.
Yeah, that's basically me.
But yeah, I rolled really, really well with a lot of people, and it was super fun. And it was also cool to get to roll with other people. Like, we had some Fluid members there, and I tried to not roll with them because I see them all the time. Yeah. So I tried to roll with some other people. Like, my favorite roll, I think, from the weekend was rolling with Sarah Mackey, who's a purple belt female. So it's always cool to be a female rolling with another female, but especially someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's super cool to be able to teach the white belts, and then it's also really cool to be able to be really challenged at the same time with someone else.
It's always good to be challenged.
Yeah, for sure. And she was funny because she was like, I didn't know what rank you were because we were in Nogi, and she was just like, and then I realized, like, pretty quick that you knew what you were doing, and I had to turn it up, and I was like, cool! That's fun.
Yeah. During rolling, I got complimented on my barambolos and how annoying my guard was.
The professors don't like barambolos. The masters. Masters don't like barambolos.
Well, just wait until I barambolo them.
Our friend Jose went to Brazil last week, and he came back and he told us that apparently the masters do not like barambolos very much. Which is funny because that's all Jose has been working on for like 2 months.
I saw a video recently of Henzo Gracie, old school video of Henzo, and somebody was doing jiu-jitsu, and somebody did a cartwheel, and he was like, get that fucking bullshit move out of here.
Oh my god.
In Portuguese.
That's violent.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, gotta make sure if I ever see Henzo not to do a cartwheel.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
But, anyways. What was your rolls like? How'd they go for you?
I had so much fun.
Yeah, you rolled a lot. We didn't even roll together on that Saturday.
No.
Actually, I think we did, but never mind. I don't remember. I think we had like a roll, but I don't think.
I think you attacked me when something.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, you just started like choking me, and then I started defending, and then you countered, and then I countered, and then
like
you
when
countered.
Josh asked us if we roll while we're in bed, and I was just like, yeah, like cuddling never is cuddling; it's always defense. Or like when I'm doing dishes and Nick comes up and like tries to hug me from behind, and you know how that looks like pictured in your head that he.
Double underhooks.
He reaches under you for
under the arm bear hug.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be a hug or a cuddle or like a nuzzle, and
no, it's not.
Me, I just dropped to my feet like
horse stance.
Yeah,
ready.
I dropped down into a really low squat. Like, nope, you're not picking me up.
Yeah. Women's self-defense.
Mm-hmm. Which shout out to that really quick. March 19th, if you're in the Milwaukee area, we're doing a free women's self-defense seminar. It's going to be 2 hours long at Fluid Jiu Jitsu, Greenfield, Wisconsin, and it's going to be taught by one of our own females, which is super cool. There's going to be lots of people in attendance. It's going to be a really fun time. So
she's also a Gracie certified women's self-defense instructor.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So she knows what she's doing, and it's going to be a really good day. So March 19th, if you're around, come visit. Come hang out.
Yeah. But yeah, my rolls were fun. Like I said, I got complimented on my barambolos, which was like cool because I've been working on those.
Yeah, you do those a lot. You got to roll with a bunch of different higher belts too. You got to roll with You didn't roll with Joe, right? But
I did not get to roll with Joe.
I saw you roll with the brown belt from Neutral Ground.
Yeah, but I've rolled with Andy before.
Okay.
Because he trains at South Milwaukee.
Mm.
Yeah. But yeah, it's always fun to just roll with different crew of people.
Yeah.
And because when you roll with the same people over and over, you know their style, they know your style. Makes it a little bit harder for you to employ your style. There's strengths and weaknesses to that in general. Mm-hmm. Because then you have to learn different stuff or learn how to make it better. But, you know.
I think that's what's so intimidating about being a white belt in this sport, though. Is like, I know that when I was first starting for probably the first year, if we went to a different gym, I was so shy and so scared. And I didn't want to because I knew that rolling with other people was going to be different. And I knew it was going to be, like, pretty much a challenge, but everything was a challenge to me at that point. So, like, to challenge myself extra just didn't seem very fun at the moment.
That's just too much.
Yeah. Like, I'm not about that life.
Yeah.
But, like, now, I'm just like, I want to roll with everyone. Let's go. Let's do it. And then I get really offended when people tell me no. Like, I know I shouldn't, but I take it very personally when I go to another gym and I'm like, you want to roll? And they're like, nah. And I'm like, is it because I'm a girl? Like, I get really mad about it. I don't say it to them, but, like, in my head, I start getting really frustrated. And then I'll go take a female and I'll start complaining about it and be like, they don't want to roll with me. I'm so mad about it. And then they always start to tell me, like, it's fine. You're a badass. It's cool. You're great. And I'm just like, yeah, but they don't want to roll with me. And I get very frustrated.
That's fine, I guess. I got to roll with a couple people from Denver, a couple people from Syracuse. No, not a couple, but people from Syracuse, people from Boston, Seattle. Mm-hmm. I get to roll Jose often. Kind of. People from Milwaukee.
We didn't have this podcast going when we originally visited Denver.
No.
We went to Denver in October of 2020, and we started this in January of 21. But we had went on a trip to Colorado, and we went all over the place, but we did end up training at a gym in Denver called Morningstar. Mm-hmm. And the owner of it, his name is Tim Gillette, and he taught some really cool stuff that day. And I wouldn't say we've kept really in contact with him, but it was cool to have that experience like a year and a half ago. And then he was at this camp.
Yeah, and he was one of the instructors.
Us. Yeah.
Yes.
He remembered us, and it was super cool. And he asked when we were going to come visit again. And it was a cool experience. And he brought some of his friends with him.
And he taught us some awesome stuff also.
Yeah. Yeah, his was really cool.
Yeah, he taught us a technique called the empty half guard, which I'm going to be playing a lot with. Because it's like when you're behind me, but I can still use my butterfly guard on you. Mm-hmm. So good luck. Because I'm a hooker.
Yes. Yep, that one. And then Joe Benson's quarter guard. Yeah, his quarter guard backstep stuff. Like,
yeah, options from knee slice.
There's one move that I took from there that I am so excited to just keep using over and over and over.
That's exciting. Mm-hmm. And then who else? We had Rich Saab. Mm-hmm. He's pretty cool.
New Jersey.
Yeah, he was from Jersey. Mm-hmm. I don't know what accent that was. But he's been doing jiu-jitsu since 2001. Black belt under Chris Hodder, I believe. And he taught us what he calls the elevator sweep. But I think most people know it as a hip bump sweep.
Or we call it up and over, or there's lots of different names for it. But he called it the elevator sweep. Yeah,
and he had a bunch of okay life experiences to tell us about also.
Okay. He was just okay.
He was okay.
Rich, if you're listening to this, you're just okay.
That's his way of saying, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah, Rich was a cool dude.
Yeah.
We ended up hanging out with a lot of these people outside of the mats, too, because outside of the camp, like Josh Janis, he was running the whole camp, so he had met some of these people throughout his Globetrotter experience, and Rich was one of them, and then Mike, who made us the Korean barbecue, was one of them, and then we had Ivan, who we haven't talked about yet, but he was one of them as well. So we got to, like, have very fun and personal, deeper relationships and connections with these people because we hung out with them Friday night before the camp even started, and we played games, and we learned that Yvonne really likes GILFs. And
oh my god. I think it was kind of forced into that. So I wouldn't say that.
We played Telestrations after dark.
Ooh.
And for those who don't know, it's just like a drawing game. Like, you get a word, then you have to draw it, then the next person has to guess what you drew, and then based on what you draw, like, the next person has to guess what that. It's like telephone, but for pictures. And Nick had picked the word GILF. and poor Yvonne was sitting next to him and had to draw a gilf. And this picture, I'm telling you, out of all the times I've played this game, that was the best and scariest picture I have ever seen.
That grandma was looking saucy.
My entire life. Holy cow. So, Yvonne, I don't know what you were thinking.
Oh my
but
goodness.
I know we had to ask him, like, is that really a gilf to you?
He was just trying to draw grandma with some sex appeal, okay?
Yeah. I don't think he did that right. Did not do it justice.
Anyway.
It was a super fun time. So we had fun, and we got to hear a lot of stories from Rich, especially just because he's a little bit older, so he has more of that life experience and the traveling experience. And
he's also in a few bands.
Yeah.
He's got 2 BJJ Globetrotters instructionals. Lapel chokes from everywhere, I think. And then advanced controls, submit, something.
They're just okay.
Yeah. He was a cool dude.
But
lots of good experiences.
Yeah, so Rich taught us an elevator sweep or an up and over sweep or a hip bump sweep or whatever you want to call it. But then he also taught what to do when it's failing you. So if you could think about being a smaller person or even just have watched a smaller person try to hip bump sweep a bigger person, it doesn't work very well. I would know. And he taught what to do if they're starting to push back into you, which I'm also really, really stoked to try to do. Except for guillotines, those are not my thing.
It's kind of like when you try a scissor sweep, but everybody knows a scissor sweep, so it sets up your next move. That's basically what we were doing with the hip bump. Yeah,
it was cool to sequence it together. So I learned from him, and then Tim taught another seminar on S-mount.
Yeah, that was fantastic S-mount.
Yep, very excited about that S-mount.
Can't wait to crush all your diaphragms.
I don't want to roll with you. We learned some S-mount stuff, and then...
And then we learned the guillotine of the sea.
No, you're not doing this. You're not starting that.
Well,
no,
it's happened.
No.
2 people have said it so far.
Yeah, because you mock him. You can't do that. Megan's face was hilarious, by the way.
It was great.
So
we were setting that up. I should have got it on camera, but I didn't.
So Josh is a little bit of a dad jokester. More like a grandpa jokester with the crap that he comes up with. Even though he's only, in his 40s. He gets really mad about that. If you tell Josh that he's in his 40s, he will roll his eyes at you and possibly guillotine you. So,
it's possible.
But Josh has some terrible jokes. And one of them, because his last seminar at the camp was to do straight ankle locks. And if you can think about a straight ankle lock and a guillotine, they kind of have the same hand placement and the same type of bringing your elbows back and all that stuff. And so he called it the guillotine of the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Just like tuna's the chicken of the sea.
Okay. Well, why don't you go on about guillotines of the sea or straight ankle locks is more than everyone says. That's what everyone says except for you and Josh now.
Straight ankle locks?
Yes.
Well, they were good techniques, I don't know.
That's it? That's all you have to say about it? That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you expect me to say about it?
I don't know. Something so I can write this down and you can talk.
Oh. Well, I was going to ask you next what, your biggest takeaway, not technique-wise, but, concept-wise, was from each instructor.
From each instructor?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go through all 4 of them?
Yeah, just, a concept you picked up from them, not just a technique.
Okay, well, I would say that the biggest one was probably, which we already kind of talked about, was Rich's up and over sweep, and if it's not working, and how there are more things that you can do to set up from there. And even though I'm not, referencing a specific move, but you don't even know the amount of times that I've tried an up and over sweep and it's failed, and then I just kind of give up on it, and then
Sure.
I'm like, all right, I'm back in my guard, let me figure it out.
Yeah, so the concept to make that more concise from Rich, which I was going to bring up also, was when he sets up the hip bump sweep, your opponent has a decision to make in that moment. And if you're ahead of the decision, because it funnels them into either, okay, I'm going to push you back down to the ground, or I'm going to accept the sweep and defend and go into half guard.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can know that decision and understand the start of that sequence, then you can do the counter to their decision right away. And you can extrapolate that outside of just the hip bump sweep to all of the moves that you use in jiu-jitsu, is when you put people in a situation where maybe their arm is exposed from their ribs, or you cut an angle, or you shift your pressure, or you maneuver your grips in a certain way. A lot of those things start to set up a decision tree. And if you understand the systems and the decisions that your opponent or training partner is going to have to make while you're progressing through the system, then your chances of success at the end of that tree is going to be way higher than the person that's defending and trying to escape. But also conversely, if you understand the decisions you're making to defend, you know what they're trying to funnel you into, and then you can make better decisions there also. And then, to extrapolate it further, every point in there can connect to every point in every other tree. So halfway through your defense, you can start to set up, because that's the same position as an attack in a different system. Mm-hmm. Once you put it all together.
Yep. That was a lot.
It was. But that was a great concept that he brought up, mm-hmm. and I wanted to dive into that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was cool.
It makes sense, right? I think I explained it all right.
Yeah. It's just very,
meta.
What's the right word? What?
Meta.
Meta?
Yeah.
Like Facebook? What?
Meta did not come from Facebook.
But, like, Meta is Facebook now. That's where I'm going. Cause
do you know what a meta game is?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Discussion for another time.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, that was a cool concept. I would say, I don't really know if I can think about off the top of my head. Like, I would have to really dive into it and remember all the conversations that we had. Because right now I'm at that, like, surface level where I'm like, oh, I'm taking away all these moves that I learned.
Sure.
But I'm sure as, like, I start drilling them throughout the week, this week, like, starting tomorrow on all the girls, I'm going to end up figuring out a little bit more about the meaning behind them and why you do them this way and things like that. So,
okay.
Ask me next week.
Yeah, I'd say whenever I take these seminars or classes, I try to learn concepts more than I try to learn techniques. So, like, were you just thinking of Rich, or were you thinking of all the instructors in this moment just now?
I was thinking of all.
Of all? Okay. So, yeah, there's another concept from Josh on the straight ankle lock, which he uses for the guillotine also, mm-hmm. which he was talking about how the submission works with fulcrum mm-hmm. and weight at a certain point and leverage to break over the fulcrum, mm-hmm. right? And he was using his armpit as the weight. Mm-hmm. And you use your body's structure to finish the guillotine or the ankle lock rather than your muscles trying to pull through that. Mm-hmm. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
With, like, all submissions.
Right.
You don't want to have to use muscle. You want to use your body's, like, automatic attributes to finish stuff when you set it up properly.
Isn't that kind of the difference between us right now, though? Like, white, blue, purple, brown? Like, isn't exactly what's happening right now the exact difference in the belts? Is, like, white belts at that seminar this weekend, or just the entire camp this weekend, were probably like, yeah, that's it. That's what I was talking about. That was the thing. What is that?
It's not a tick. It's just a beetle.
Get him out.
Okay.
But anyway, so any white belts who were at that seminar or camp this weekend, they were able to take away broad concepts. Like, holy crap, I've never seen...
You mean techniques?
Yeah. I've never seen that straight ankle lock before. Like, what the heck is a straight ankle lock type of thing. Or maybe you've seen it in a completely different way. We found a beetle, so we're trying to kill it. Sorry.
Lo siento. Disculpe.
But that's what white belts are doing, right? Like, they're seeing something for the first time, or maybe presented in a completely different way, and then they're just trying to grasp, like, that concept. Whereas blue belts, now, Jose and I were just talking about this, actually, that blue belts are now seeing everything for the second, third, fourth, fifth time, and now we're trying to piece it together and make it work for ourselves, because now we've seen this 100 times, but now we're trying to, like, make it actually be part of our game and how we can incorporate it in our game. And maybe the way that the instructor taught it was a little bit differently, and it resonated with our brains a little bit more than the way we were taught before. Mm-hmm. And
or maybe you just saw one side of it, and now you're moving around to the other side of it.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay.
Different perspective.
Yeah. I can see that a little bit more now. Or you move to the other side of it, and you're like, oh,
Right, and that's where the blue belts are, I would say. Whereas you in the purple belts, now you're like, well, I've seen all sides of this move, and now I'm going to take away the concept of why you're doing this move. Like, now I know how to execute it, but why am I doing it? Type of thing. And then brown belts who were there were probably, that's why they were asking, like, the crazy questions, like, well, why would you not just go for this if this is there? Like, I've done that move 100 times. I've also done it the way you're teaching it, but why would you not? Why would you do that over this move type of thing? Mm-hmm. And then black belts are just fine-tuning it.
Black belt. Nobody cares about you, black belts.
No,
figure it out.
Not anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
So even just yours and my perspectives right now on this podcast is kind of cool that it's coming to light like this, because you're asking me what concepts did I take away, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What concepts? I took away like these really cool moves that I've never seen before. And you're like, yeah, but like the fulcrum. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was cool too. So I think that's kind of the cool difference between us right now.
Yeah, that's true. And we didn't turn off the heat today.
Nope.
Anyways, one thing that was pretty cool also, who am I trying to, who was it? Oh, yeah. Another concept that was huge for me. And I use this concept all the time, but it was the concept of breaking the posture. The spinal structure of your opponent. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Spinal structure.
Tim.
In S-mount?
Mm-hmm.
See, that was my last thing that I was thinking of. So where are you getting with that?
So when he got to mount, first thing he did was pull up on their head so they couldn't bridge.
Okay.
Second thing he did was pull their head off to the side.
Yeah.
So that they doubly could not bridge or shrimp at all because their spinal structure is so fucked up.
Yep. And
then the way to control the S-mount is so much dramatically easier when you control just the crown of their head.
Yeah, I thought that was very cool. That was something that I did take away from yesterday. And even when my dad was over last night, I was telling him that. And he's like, oh yeah, because then if you do this, then they can't do this, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, see, when you're a black belt, you can hear this. And you're like, oh yeah. Like I remember when my dad came over last night because he brought us ice cream. So thanks, Dad. We were telling him all about the camp. And I was explaining moves to him. And they were not very easy. I was just spewing out words because I was really excited about it, and I could see it in his head just thinking about it. He's like, oh yeah, yep, mm-hmm. And then I was thinking I'm like, if I try to tell anyone at Fluid this, they'd be like, wait, what? Like what? Wait, go back to that. Can you show me how that works? And Brent was just like, yeah, duh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He's like, I teach it that way because this way, and I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's something that I do often is break the spinal structure.
Mm-hmm.
But he showed me a way in S-mount for me to break the spinal structure without using my hands, which is great. But I don't know if you see me in competition, but I'm always pulling up on the head when I'm in mount.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah, and then they roll, and then I do what I want because I put them in a decision tree. Look at us linking it.
Yeah, that was a very cool concept because I remember I was drilling with Katie from Colorado, which was also really cool to drill with a female who was roughly my size that I've never met before. That's the other cool part about these camps is you just meet all these people and you build these connections. Like, I have now formed...
We have new friends.
Yeah, I have now formed friendships from people that I may not see them anytime soon, but if I were to see them again in my jiu-jitsu career, we would hang out and we would have a good time. Mm-hmm. And it's very cool. So, I was drilling with Katie, and we were both saying, oh, yeah, that makes it a lot tighter. That makes it a lot better if you replace your hand with your shin, or you get your foot underneath their head, and, it was all these little details that you're just duh.
Yeah. The thing with Tim also was he was breaking the spinal structure when he was doing that armbar with the foot behind the head.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it was in many different spots, that concept there. Mm-hmm. If you just break the spinal structure, your opponent has a much harder time doing anything.
Right. Yep, I agree. It was very cool. And
then also in S-mount, the other cool concept was just learning how to crush the diaphragm to destroy people's souls.
Yeah, and that's where I liked how he broke it up, too, where he was like, we have to learn how to actually get to S-mount, because if you don't know the proper mechanics and the proper place to set your hips and your feet in S-mount, then the rest of this class is going to be meaningless to you, because you have to know how high to get in order for these moves to actually be pulled off. So it was cool that we were able to drill things like that. And that's one thing...
Did someone from Colorado tell you how high to get?
I get it. You know what you're saying. Dang it, Nick. Forgot what I was going to say now.
You were talking about he was telling you how to set up the S-mount and how to actually control it and the things that are important and how to get there before he taught actual attacks from there.
I don't remember what I was going to say.
How does your brain go blank that fast? Coffee?
Yes. This is the first time I've had coffee since Friday.
What?
Saturday.
Ridiculous. Mm-hmm. My friend from Boston likes to drink energy drinks almost as much as I do, so that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Telling you, he's the more Asian version of you.
That's not fair. I guess it's not a competition, but...
He was. It was so cool to see Michael because he was from Singapore. So he is like, I'm pretty sure he was 100% Asian. I didn't ask him really a whole lot, but if you're from Singapore...
I thought he was Korean, though.
Asian.
Singapore is not Korea.
It's not... I didn't say Korean. I said Asian.
I thought he made us Korean food.
He did make us Korean food. But I'm pretty sure he was born in, like, Singapore.
Sorry, Michael.
I don't know where you were born, sorry. But anyway, so...
We're butchering your life story. I apologize. We're just going to have you on.
But he, anyway, he's 100% Asian, let's just go with that. But he loves energy drinks as much as Nick does. And they're both purple belts. And
what you were getting at, he was born in Singapore, moved to Britain, so he's got an Asian with a British accent that lives in Boston.
That's not where I was going at all, but yeah, okay. Because I wasn't going to go into that. Anyway, he likes energy drinks as much as Nick for the third freaking time, and he's a purple belt like Nick, and he makes all the stupid jokes like Nick does, and they were like two peas in a pod. It's just Michael's more Asian, and it was funny.
So it's funny when he does it, but not when I do
exactly.
it. This is bullshit.
Exactly. Anyway... So, yes, we went to the camp all weekend, and we learned lots of really cool stuff. I didn't get to say any
concepts from the other instructors.
Then go.
Okay. Who else was there?
And this is why you haven't, because you're like,
Well, you didn't give me any chance. Wow. I'm getting roasted.
You're not Asian enough. You're not coming up with your concepts fast enough.
What was your favorite thing that you learned from Joe?
I really liked... I don't even know what he called it. I know he was like on his back in a... It wasn't even a half guard, but I guess it was a half guard. And then he stuck his hand up there, and he switched his feet, and then he was able to just totally like sweep him over. I love it, and I'm super excited about it.
It was a counter to the back step.
Is it a half guard, though?
It's quarter guard.
It's still considered a quarter guard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I really liked that. And I'm going to do that a lot tomorrow. That's, like, the biggest thing I think I brought home with me from this camp.
Yeah, because everybody knows the knee slice pass.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was pretty cool. The concept I got out of his was if you can control the hips, it's very difficult for your opponent to attack any leg locks on you.
Were we at the same seminar? I'm not really getting any of this.
Because when the person backsteps, that's a entrance to the honey hole.
Yes.
Or to, what's the other word for it? Saddle? Yeah.
Is it?
Yes, it's the same position.
I thought they were different. Okay.
Yeah, the honey hole and the saddle are the same. And knee slice, when they backstep, is a entrance to honey hole in the saddle.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. And he was saying when they backstep, the two things you do is grab their hips and start to elevate their ankle so that they can't shift themselves 180 degrees and get into the leg lock position. Because that's a very huge part of the jiu-jitsu game right now, especially if reaping is allowed in the competition, to knee slice, and then when the guard pass doesn't work, okay, I'm just going to sit back and leg lock them. Mm-hmm. But if you learn how to control their hips, make it so they can't spin away from you, and elevate the ankle that they have in the quarter guard, it's going to be very difficult for them to properly spin away and start to attack any sort of leg locks on you.
Yeah. See, I just got the move. I thought the move was really cool.
Okay. It was cool.
Like, I get it. Everything you're saying is valid. I understand. And now that you're saying it, I do remember, like, him talking about it. But I also wasn't focusing on that. I was focusing on getting the move right so I could drill it right.
Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to bring up these concepts. Because I think it's important for people at a white belt level to start thinking about these concepts rather than the techniques. Because you've seen me pull off random shit that, like, has never been taught to me. Where you're like, how the fuck did that work? But it's just because I understand the mechanics of what I'm trying to do. Rather than, like, any technique that anybody's ever taught me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand. It's just... See, my perspective on it when I go to a seminar is I'm going to learn something completely new that I've probably never seen before. And I get that you want to compare it to the concepts behind it. But in my head, I'm just like, I want to learn this move. And the way I learn is by drilling. And so I don't learn by just, like, seeing it and being able to do it like you can. So I don't think about really the concept as much as I think about, okay, what are the steps to this move? And then once I'm doing it and I'm feeling it, then I can start thinking about, like, oh, yeah, that really controls the head, or that really does disrupt the spinal cord, or, like, things like that. But I can't just, like, hear it and be like, oh, yeah, that's a cool concept. Like, that's not how I learn.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to shift people's focus to, even just a little bit in this podcast. Is that whenever you go to a class, whenever you go to a seminar, there's a theme of technique and concept. And if you understand the concept, the technique is secondary.
Yeah.
Technique is one way to enforce that concept. It's kind of like art, which is why it's a martial art, right? But everybody has the same tools, which are the techniques. Everybody has the same canvas. Everybody has the same brush. Everybody has the same paint. But the concept is how to use the brush, how to use the paint, and how to use the canvas. Because you can be taught a technique, but until you can internalize those concepts, it's never going to be your art until you do. Then
Makes
it's
sense.
your techniques that you've put together based on what your goal is in those positions.
Yep. Very cool. Are we done talking about concepts now?
I guess.
Okay. So, what else did you get as your biggest takeaways from the weekend?
Jiu-jitsu wise, or
Whatever you...
well, I did want to say a really cool moment I had on the beach. So, Saturday night we had a fire on the beach and went into Cold Lake, Michigan, which was funny because we had to break up some ice to make a safe path into the water.
Lovely.
That was very interesting. And then we had a yoga mat. So it was a sandy beach, right? But the sand was also frozen. So, like, normally when you step on sand, like, your feet go in a little bit, right? It's squishy. I've never stood on hard sand before in my life. And I was like, this is interesting. And I had a shovel to, like, help me build a fire and dig a hole, or if I needed to do anything. I could not break that sand with the shovel. I was like, oh.
Wow.
This is difficult.
This is frozen.
Yeah. But I found a really good spot to build a fire. And I started the fire. But I was trying to make a clean path into the water, because what happens with the water, icy beach and frozen water, is they start to build a ice cliff that you have to jump down to get off the beach into the water, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
And it was like jagged pieces of ice everywhere. And not everybody was prepared with water shoes. So we ended up taking a yoga mat, bringing it to the edge of the cliff, and I tried to, like, chisel a smooth pass of the jagged ice. But when you chisel ice like that, it becomes almost like broken glass. So we had to cover it with something.
Yikes.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Brittany's like, I'm really glad it didn't go.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah, so that was cool. And then everybody went in the water. We did our Wim Hof breathing around the fire, which is just fun. I guess if you're me. And then we did people going into the water in waves, which was cool because last time we had people going waves, but it was pitch black and there was actual waves in the water that was, like, trying to pull people out into the lake, which is
It was also
not great.
really far.
It was far away from the fire also.
Yeah.
And, like, hard to see from people at the fire.
Yeah, very cold, dark walk back to the fire after you got out of 2-degree water. It's not literally 2 degrees, but it feels
probably
like
like 35 degrees.
Yeah.
But, that we did it much better this time. The beach was at a beach that had a breakwater, or whatever that's called, that stops the waves. Mm-hmm. So it was calm water. Calm water. And, we had to build a path off the ice cliff to get into the water. And we had people go in there for a minute and then come back to the fire and start to dry off and warm up. And they were practicing the Wim Hof breathing method the whole time. And a lot of people went into water. There was probably like 15 people that went in the water, which was awesome. And we had a really good time with that. The cool part was Sunday morning, we also had our second session of cold exposure and Wim Hof breathing at the beach with a fire. So I got up at like 5-something and went to the beach and started a fire and waited for everybody to show up. But there was only 5 of us that showed up and 2 of us went in the water, which was just Josh and I. And Josh and I do a cold tub once a week anyways. So Josh and I were like, I guess this is just like another Tuesday morning. But this time I was able to like not focus on other people and focus on me just going into the lake and hang out with the fire. And I was in like a really meditative state. And I did my round of breathing. I was ready to go in the water. We went in the water. And also, this time going into the lake was much easier than when I did it in December. The water did not pierce me as much as it did back then.
Why do you think that was?
I'm not sure why that was. I think the waves were different because you're not getting hit by water.
Maybe you knew what to expect a little bit more?
Yeah, I think when water moves more, your body actually, like, if you don't move in water, your body creates a tiny little film between you and the water that insulates you a little bit because you start to, like, warm up the water around you if it doesn't move. Like, you've probably felt that in, like, a hot tub or if you take a bath where you move and then you can feel the temperature of the water again. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it kind of, like, there's a tiny little space where you're not moving, the water's not moving, and the temperature of that water is changing. That's what you're feeling before the temperature of the other water. Mm-hmm. Right? So there's that. So in stiller water, it gets moved away less, but in heavy moving water, you never build that barrier. So I think that was one big difference between last camp and this camp. But also, this time it was just Josh and I in the water, so I was a lot able to focus on me. The sunrise was there. The sound of the fire was in the background. It was just a beautiful morning. And then I kept up my breathing. We were in there for like a minute or so. And then walked back to the fire. And when I was standing by the fire, I was still meditating. And I literally felt like I was no longer standing on a beach. I felt like I was just floating, which was crazy. And it felt like I was just like one with the universe. It sounds pretty hippie.
I was going to say, you sound like a hippie right now.
Sounds very hippie-like. But it literally felt like it was just me and everything around me. My eyes were closed and the sun was shining directly in my eyes. So everything was that bright red that you see when you close your eyes looking at the sun. Mm-hmm. And I was feeling the fire, right? And I was standing there, but it did not feel like I was standing. I felt like I was just alive. And like the atoms in me and the atoms in the air and the fire and the ground around me were all just atoms chilling out together. And me, I was just like consciousness just there.
That's cool.
It was a really cool moment. Because, yeah, I did not feel like I was on a beach. I felt like I was just...
And that was after coming out of the water?
Mm-hmm.
And just sitting by the fire?
Yeah, just standing by the fire.
Nice. That's fun.
It was a really cool experience, and I've never felt it quite like that before.
And then you also said that in the December camp, when you were in the water, you were able to look at the full moon and almost have that like same feeling, but at night.
And I was in the water at that point. When I got out of the water in December, I was mad because my toes were very cold.
Yeah. Yes. You were also cold this time, but not as.
Right, I was more prepared this time.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Cool. I'm glad that you were able to experience that. That's super. Sounds nice. Still don't want to try it. The amount of times people told me with like my injuries and stuff that I should go do a cold bath this winter, or just like, yesterday, so I guess it is winter, but they're like, the lake's right down the road. I'm like, go to hell.
I have experienced because like last week, seems like forever ago, I fought Packration, and my hip was really hurt. Mm-hmm. And I did ice baths as part of my therapy, and after I did the ice bath, my hip healed dramatically.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I would probably try an ice bath. Like, I'm not opposed to an ice bath because I know Ellie really likes it. Mm-hmm. I know you and Josh do it every week. It's just, I don't have one, and I don't...
We can do one in the tub.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, but you always go to Josh's on Tuesday mornings when I'm at work. So I never get to have that opportunity. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I
guess nice
with
a hot tub.
Right, exactly. But I won't do it Lake Michigan. I just won't. I won't do it. I don't even like going in Lake Michigan on an 80-degree day.
I know.
It's like, no.
The other thing that I really love about ice baths is not just like the health benefits and the meditation it brings me, but it's my ability to tell my body, like, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want to do with you. You know, like that mental strength, like, stop being a bitch. Mm-hmm. You will survive. The only reason that you're not doing it is because you're afraid of it and it's not comfortable. And if you can do that over and over with certain things in your life, when you push through your comfort zone because you know it's something that's going to help you in the future, then your mind can do that with other things. And if you can do it with like an ice bath or Lake Michigan, other things are secondary. Like, it's way easier. It's almost like if you were working on upping your squats, and on a regular day you squat like 100 pounds, but then like every once in a while you squat a heavy weight for a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. Your everyday squat number is going to go up. Right.
You have to build up muscle. Build it up. And your brain is a muscle, so you have to keep working on that and building up that repetition in order for it to stick.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a cold bath, especially because I was just telling you that if I thought that I hurt myself pretty bad over the weekend in one of my rolls, and it ended up not being anything serious, but at first I didn't know how bad it was going to be. And so I had said, I was like, if it's going to end up being where it's going to hurt for the next couple of days, like, I probably will actually, like, be smart about this one and take some time off, because every time I get injured, I take, like, my 2 rest days that I normally do, and then I'm like, okay, now I'll just flow for the week, but I never, like, give myself that time to recover. Mm-hmm. So I said that if this one was going to be serious, like, I would actually take the month of March off just to let my body recuperate, because if it's not one thing, it's the other with me, I feel like. And I know that Joe Hash had told me too, like, you know, you do get injured quite a bit. Like, I feel like I am very injury prone, and I don't really know why. But he was like, you should try an ice bath. Like, I think it would honestly really help you. And so I have been considering it more. But in the other part of me too, I'm like, my injuries are not that severe. But they just keep happening. So maybe I should try an ice bath sometime.
Yeah, and the thing with injuries is they build upon each other. Mm-hmm. So if you're injured in one spot, you move differently with that spot, which makes the rest of your body move differently, right, which makes injuries more prone because your opponent or partner is not expecting you to move that awkward way. Yeah. And then
I think that's what's happening almost exactly to a T, because even yesterday I got asked by Yvonne, because I didn't get a chance to roll with him this weekend, and he was like, what would you say your style is? And I'm like, well, it's different right now because my knees have been so messed up, but before my knees were hurting it was this, but ever since my knees have been injured, like, I've been rolling differently and my style's been different, and I've been trying to figure out what my new style is, and so it's just been a lot of standing passing. But then when I hurt my tailbone snowboarding the other week, like, then I couldn't even, like, fall over with a standing pass. So then I had to figure out a new way to roll like that. And it's been a whole lot of figuring out my body lately. Yeah. So basically, if you're taking anything away from this, maybe go try an ice bath.
Yeah, I'll go to the lake and build a fire with you.
Screw you.
It sounds great. Oh, yeah, my fire maker name is now Prince Zuko.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It's because you haven't watched Last Avatar, The Last Airbender.
No, I have not. That's right. Okay, that's what it was. Because I looked at Megan and I was like, what's a Zuko? And she was like, Avatar. And I was like, oh, that's why I don't care.
Why are they calling him Zuko? Because I'm the firebender.
Yeah. But do you have any last minute thoughts on anything else you didn't get a chance to say?
We did say we met some awesome people. Yeah. I talked about the concepts I wanted to talk about.
You just threw me for a loop with that. Like, you didn't tell me you were going to talk about that, and I wasn't expecting it, and especially because it was a weekend that I wasn't picking that up, and so I didn't know how to relate to you on that for those 20 minutes.
That makes sense. But, yeah, like I said, I wanted to bring awareness to there's concepts in every technique that you should take away more so than the technique.
Yeah, and I get that. But I think like I said, with the whole difference in belt levels with white to blue to purple to brown, like I think that everyone takes away something a little differently, and I think that our minds are just not in the same spot right now. And I do take away concepts, but I wasn't doing it this weekend. I do it in like beginner class right now, where I'm like seeing moves that I know how to do and I execute in every role, but now I'm just like, oh yeah, I do it this way because of that. And if I did it this way, it would probably make it better.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing it with basic moves. I'm not doing it with moves that I've never seen before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah. But I have to say, those S-mount arm bars, those I took some concepts away on, because that's my thing.
Yeah. Yep, those were fun. I enjoyed seeing people that I haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was very delayed. But
I think I'm tired.
Yeah, I can
That's
tell.
the other thing.
I can tell.
Which is weird because I don't normally get tired, but...
He's went to bed before me the last 2 nights.
Well, you take naps. I wasn't taking naps.
That sucks for you.
I had life to live. No naps to sleep through.
Right. But yeah, anyway, thanks for listening to us vlog again. We just wanted to talk about the lifestyle camp and what we got out of it. I don't think it was too vloggy. I think we more like did talk about
concepts.
The concept of everything. And I hope you did get some takeaways out of this, and I hope it helped your game, and we will try to get... I think we're going to try to get a guest on next week.
Yeah.
I would like
talk
to.
about that. Yeah. But if you want to do any cold exposure, please let me know. I would love to do it with you because it's a great experience. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm about getting an ice tub at my house somehow, some way. The hard part is you also want hot water. Yeah. For people that have not done it before. Right.
Be able to go into the hot water after the cold water like you do in the hot tub.
Yeah.
That sounds really nice.
Or I could build a fire.
Ugh. Okay. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. And I hope you have a great week of training.
Yeah, okay. Bye, guys.